Well, the first weekend of the Marvels is in the books, and it has been one spectacular crash. You might suspect that the Walt Disney Company would be retrospective, trying to figure out what went wrong. You would think that the perhaps access media and the punditry all across the entertainment industry would be coming to terms with what has been an abysmal failure. But folks, we're here to tell you that in fact, they do have something to blame this all on, and it's South Park. Hello folks, welcome back to the WDW Pro channel. A joy as always to join you as we endeavor to explain entertainment, keep you ahead of the culture curve, and as a byproduct, we also hope to nudge culture in a better direction. We're tired of these movies that want to pit men against women and women against men. It's a bunch of nonsense and we're over it. Leave it at the playground with 5-year-olds, that's what we say. As we dive into today's content, consider clicking the like button, share, subscribe, and when you click it, you stick it to the algorithms. It's the notification bell. Our journey today, although it will be quite the journey, does have a beginning, and that is at comicbookmovie.com. Folks, you already see the headline. It lets you know everything you need to know. The Marvels debuts with 110 million worldwide. Best opening weekend for a movie by a black female director. It's almost as if this was ready and locked in as the headline before they knew it was going to fail. Conversely, folks, this would also mean that this is the worst flop ever by a black female director. One would have to assume, right? Of course, this is by Mark Cassidy. The Marvels arrived in theaters on Friday, and as predicted, Marvel Studios' 33rd movie failed to go higher, further, faster at the box office. Captain Marvel's sequel, which also serves as a follow-up to Disney Plus shows WandaVision, Ms. Marvel, and Secret Invasion, earned a 3-day domestic total of $47 million and a worldwide total of $110 million. This is officially the worst opening weekend for any MCU movie ever. Now remember, this movie needs to make $800 million thereabouts in order to break even. It's not going to come even close to that. Also, don't forget, folks, that when they are comparing this to other Marvel films, the way that it's presented is sort of like, well, it came under Incredible Hulk by a little bit. It came under Ant-Man by a little bit. But you'll also notice that the way that they're responding, the way that the industry seems to be reacting as if this is some sort of monumental, seismic change in the way that they approach Marvel. And that's because, of course, they recognize that inflation makes this far worse. And they also recognize that those other two films that fared so poorly, well, they had 3 days for their weekend tallies, and the Marvels had 4 days. That's because nowadays, Thursday previews, quote unquote, they start at 3 p.m. and you get essentially a 4-day weekend. So we're comparing the Marvels with huge box office movie ticket prices and 4 days at the weekend to movies that had far less expensive movie tickets and which had only 3 days. In terms of butts and seats, we're talking about maybe even less than half the audience showing up to watch this movie compared to other Marvel films that did poorly. This is indeed a seismic shift, and that's why they are reacting this way. Now, of course, it goes on to talk about superhero fatigue. That's going to be a narrative that they try. They've trotted it out. It doesn't seem to be working, so they may give up on that one soon enough. We'll see how that goes. But at the bottom, it does say, putting a more positive spin on things, The Marvels marks the best opening weekend of all time for a movie helmed by a black female director, 34-year-old Nia DaCosta. And, I put all the blame here on Kevin Feige. But you have to say that comicbookmovie.com perhaps didn't think about the fact that what they're conversely saying is, of course, this is also the worst performing film for a black female director of all time. Might should have thought about that one before getting into it. All right, but you all clicked on this because you wanted to hear about South Park, and you want to hear about the blame that's coming to South Park from Disney. So we're going to do 2 articles out of Bounding into Comics, which will display that for you. Hang tight, folks, as we examine the fallout. This by John Trent. Brie Larson's The Marvels bombs at the box office with worst opening weekend in MCU history. And John says, according to the numbers, the film only grossed $47 million in its domestic opening weekend. The film grossed $6.6 million on Thursday night, $21.5 million on Friday, $15.3 million on Saturday, and $10.2 million on Sunday. The Marvels brought in $63.3 million internationally for a global total of 110. It breaks it down the countries. However, take a look down here, as John rightly points out, the previous holder for the worst MCU title was The Incredible Hulk. Film grossed $55.4 million back in 2008. And remember also that movie tickets, when it had its opening weekend, probably about half the price versus these premiere tickets for a Thursday preview. And also remember that, of course, the Hulk was on for Friday, Saturday, Sunday with a midnight Friday a.m. debut premiere, whereas the Marvels gets 4 days. Now, the interesting thing about this, and this is why I want to go to this article, is because one of the things that's destroying the narrative and really wrecking the access media and what they're saying is this right here. And John does such a great job of bringing this out. As for who was going to see the Marvels, Box Office Pro reports that the audience was 61% men. They also note that 67% of moviegoers were over the age of 25. Finally, they note that 45% of ticket sales were in premium formats. Now, take a look at this. Captain Marvel's box office saw 55% of moviegoers being male and 63% being older than 25. What this says, folks, is that more men came out to support the Marvels than they did for Captain Marvel. What this says, folks, is that the blame here, which Disney cannot stand, Disney can never admit this. The access media cannot possibly portray this accurately. The blame is on women. Women did not support the Marvels. Isn't that interesting? 61%, a higher percentage than for Captain Marvel years ago. 61% of the audience that went to go see the Marvels, men. Men of some sort did their very best to lift Disney and this abysmal effort. But the men's effort was in vain. Women did not come out and support their iconic, their archon of light, Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel, and the rest. Let's go to another article by John Trent. He seems like a busy fellow, a great writer, you might say. Disney execs reportedly, and I love this, quote-unquote butthurt over South Park joining the Pandaverse special. All right, here's where the blame is going. A new report claims that Disney executives were not happy about the most recent South Park special joining the Pandaverse. Now, I know, folks, this is a few days old. I'm going to show you what. Hang tight. South Park joining the Pandaverse, released on Paramount Plus at the end of October, took a number of shots at the Walt Disney Company and heavily lampooned Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy. The episode also turned Kennedy into a meme, mocking her vision as a producer by repeating the same tired and failed formula. Specifically, Eric Cartman as Kathleen Kennedy informs the Disney board how to make their movies.
Put a chick in it, make her gay.
And that is, I suppose, what people had already in their heads before the Marvels came out. Following the release of the episode, Midnight's Edge, friend of this channel, absolutely, reported on rumors they heard about what the reactions at Disney were like. The channel's founder, Mr. Andre himself, states, "What we have heard is that the powers in Disney and Lucasfilm, like everyone else, knew the episode was coming, and they knew it was going to have a go at them, but they didn't know in advance exactly which way. And what they saw allegedly went beyond anything they ever imagined than ever in their worst nightmares. The behind-the-scenes response then at Disney was a mix of shock, embarrassment, feelings of betrayal, and overall," and here's the quote, butthurt, ladies and gentlemen. They're apparently, now this is what we're focusing in. This is why we've got the article up. There apparently were some lines of communication between Disney and Paramount over the course of the weekend prior to South Park joining the Pandaverse coming out. But from what I gather, very little constructive came out of it, as apparently many in Disney's end were a tad emotional, especially the true believers of the woke cause at South Park just gave it a black eye. Now, here's what's fascinating. One, I'm not sure that Paramount knew what was going to be coming out, and two, I'm not surprised at all that Disney and Paramount talked behind the scenes, but I am curious if Disney was intending to influence Paramount to try to get Trey Parker and Matt Stone to ease off. And especially given that the Marvels was coming out, and especially given that this has now memeified and crystallized the critiques against Disney in such a way that, well, all you have to do anymore is throw that 5-second clip of Cartman up, and you can tell all of the analysts out there exactly why Disney is not working any longer. Also, isn't it fascinating, ladies and gentlemen? Isn't it fascinating that Disney came out with that glowing earnings report? And we here on the channel said, we don't pay attention to 24-hour or 48-hour shifts in the market. We pay attention to something much more broad. And then that news cycle, of course, ended. Now the Marvel news cycle has begun. And where is Disney at? Well, they're dropping once more. We'll pay attention to it. Please don't make any financial decisions based on what we say, though. Thank you very much. Andre then shared that what he'd heard about Kathleen Kennedy's reaction. As for KK, she reportedly did not take it well, not at all. So how are they handling, then, the reaction to what's going on with the Marvels? Well, this came out on November 12th. It's from the Animated Times. It's by Alicia. The Marvels director calls critics violent and racist after awful backlash over Brie Larson's worst MCU movie so far. Oh, they're taking this well. Clearly, they're taking this well. Let's go down to the quote. All we need is the quote here. The other complaints include the emasculation of its male characters, triggered unexpected responses from a subset of the audience, and being the worst MCU movie for Larson, which has earned $21.5 million so far. You can see this was on the fly as it was coming out over the weekend. While speaking to Variety for an interview, the director of the Marvels, Nia DaCosta, has come up to respond to the criticism. There are pockets where you go because you're like, I'm a super fan. I want to exist in the space of just adoration, which includes civilized critique. Then there are pockets that are really virulent and violent and racist and sexist and all of these awful things. And I choose the side of the light. That's the part of fandom I'm most attracted to, is the side of light. Talk about a grandiose view of oneself, that you are simply in the light, ladies and gentlemen. But being in the light apparently isn't enough, because being in the light, well, it doesn't pay the bills, and it's not paying the bills for Disney. It turns out that you actually have to create quality content, and that you cannot put a scrapbooked film up on the screen and hope that people will just go screaming into the night, we love it, we love it, we love it, all because it stars all women. No, you need quality stuff. And what we are faced with right now, folks, is the access media, the Hollywood elites, the ideologues running face first into reality. They don't like it very much, and that's why I want to bring up this last thing for all of you to see. This, a tweet from Nerdrotic. They had one of the best intros to a video I've ever seen over the weekend. And Nerdrotic says they eventually come around. My girl Grace, hashtag MCU. Remember, they don't want to be wrong, right? The access media, the, what would you say? The intelligentsia, they don't want to be wrong. So as soon as they find out they're wrong, they shift as quickly as possible to taking on whatever position it is. Even if they loathe it, even if they hate having to do so, they don't want to lose the power of seeming as if they know what's going on. Here's Grace Randolph now accepting the MCU.
Now, I'm sure you've heard the term MCU. And yes, the term is extremely offensive, but it's also becoming undeniably true.
Ultimately, folks, it turns out that, yes, indeedly doodly, South Park did open the gates. South Park crystallized the critique so that the mainstream could swallow the pill and understand that it is not that we here in the common sense mainstream majority, it is not that we want women to not be on screen. That's ridiculous. That's stupid. We want good female characters. I know, shocking, right? We want good male characters. We want men to be presented in a strong fashion. We want women to be presented in a strong fashion. We want masculine men and feminine women. We want to properly lift up and give accolades to motherhood, to fatherhood, to paternal instincts, to maternal instincts, shocking, to values, to families. We love all of that. We're tired of movies that pander. And South Park, well, they brought it crashing down upon the heads of Disney that pandering is no longer going to pay out. I'm not sure that it ever did. But that's who they're going to blame for right now, is South Park, until they land upon a narrative. All right, folks, let us know how we did. Did we knock this out of the park for you? Drop a comment down below. Let us know your thoughts. We care about what you think. We want to know what's in your mind. Also, like, share, subscribe. And when you click it, you stick it to the algorithms. It's the notification bell. Folks, As we always say, and we mean it, wherever you are and whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
Oh.
What are you doing?
Well, you see, I wanted to get some inside scoops on Disney and their, different corporations, if you know what I mean. So I figured, by looking into this fistbowl and sucking it randomly with my own energy that I pay for, you paid for, I could do the whole experience where you can be a master and spy on your targets.
You're an idiot. If you want to get the inside scoop on Disney, or even other media organizations, you should check out thatparkplace.com and subscribe to WDW Pro's YouTube channel. That'd be way easier, more accurate, and, less dumb.
Are you saying I won't get accurate information this way?
No, you can't.
Who'd have think?